There is a moment late at night when everything is quiet. No notifications. No voices. No movement. You are alone in your house. And yet, your body does not fully relax. Your brain knows you are safe. But something deeper doesn't. A subtle pressure. A strange awareness. The feeling that silence itself is watching you. Millions of Americans describe the same sensation. Not fear. Not paranoia. Something quieter. Something constant. Phones that seem to know what you will think next. Ads that appear before you search. Devices that never sleep even when you do. This is not a video about cameras on walls. This is about something far more unsettling. A system that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. An observer that never announces itself. A presence that changed how humans behave without ever touching them. Tonight we are not asking who is watching you. We are asking why you feel watched. Even when you are completely alone. Before there were devices watching us, humans already knew this feeling. The sensation of being observed when no one is visible. For thousands of years, this instinct meant survival. If you felt watched in the dark, you probably were. Your brain learned to react before your eyes could confirm the danger. But something changed. Today, millions of Americans report the same sensation. Not in forests. Not in dangerous places. But in their own homes. Late at night. Doors locked. Lights off. No sound. And still the nervous system stays alert. This is not paranoia. Paranoia needs imagination. This feeling appears without effort. Psychologists call it hypervigilance. A state where the brain stays partially active, scanning for threats that never fully reveal themselves. But here's the disturbing part. Hypervigilance used to be temporary, a reaction to stress, danger, or trauma. Now it is constant. People don't feel hunted. They feel monitored. Not watched by a person. Watched by something undefined. An awareness without a face. Your posture changes. Your behavior shifts. You lower your voice even when no one is listening. You hesitate before searching certain things. Before speaking certain thoughts out loud. Before acting impulsively. Not because you were told to, but because something inside you learned restraint. This is how control begins. Not with force, but with anticipation. Studies show that humans behave differently when they believe they are being observed, even if the observer is imaginary. Productivity increases. Creativity decreases. Risk-taking drops. The mind becomes cautious. Now imagine what happens when the observer is not imaginary but invisible. System that never blinks. Never sleeps. Never reacts. Only records. This is why the feeling comes before the proof. Because the brain senses patterns long before logic catches up. Something in the environment changed. And the body noticed first. Before laws. Before announcements. Before explanations. The question is no longer whether something is watching. The real question is why your nervous system already accepted it as reality.
You were predicted.
You didn't search for it. You didn't type it. You didn't even say it out loud. And yet, it appeared. An ad. A recommendation. A video that felt uncomfortably specific. At first you ignore it. Coincidence, you tell yourself. But then it happens again. And again. Not once. Not twice. Enough times to make you pause. This is not about phones listening to conversations. That explanation is too simple. And honestly, too comforting. The truth is more unsettling. Modern systems no longer need your words. They study patterns. How long you pause on a video. Where your eyes linger. What you scroll past quickly. When you stop scrolling altogether. Micro-hesitations. Emotional fingerprints. You are not being tracked as a person. You are being tracked as a probability. The system does not ask what you want. It predicts when you will want it. Sometimes before you are aware of it yourself. This creates a strange psychological loop. You start questioning your own thoughts. Did I want this? Or was I guided toward it? The line between choice and suggestion begins to blur. And here is where the feeling of being watched intensifies. Because prediction feels personal. It feels intimate. A camera watches what you do. A predictive system watches who you are becoming. This is why Americans describe a loss of spontaneity. A hesitation before action. A sense that impulses are no longer fully theirs. Not because someone told them what to think, but because something already anticipated it. This is not surveillance in the traditional sense. It is behavioral mirroring. The system reflects your future back at you before you arrive there. And once that happens, privacy is no longer about secrets. It becomes about autonomy. There is something more unsettling than being watched. Being watched. Without reaction. No judgment. No response. No confirmation. Just silence. In the past, observation had a face. A guard. Camera. A person. You could locate it. You could confront it. You could escape it. But the observer Americans feel today has no shape. It does not warn you. It does not intervene. It does not reveal itself. It simply collects. This changes the psychology completely. Because silence forces the mind to fill in the gaps. When something watches you and reacts, you adjust your behavior temporarily. When something watches you and stays silent, you begin adjusting permanently. There is no signal that you are safe. No moment of relief. Only continuity. This is why people describe the presence as calm but oppressive. Not threatening. Unavoidable. The silent observer doesn't need authority. It doesn't need fear. It only needs time. Over time, people stop asking who is watching. They start assuming something always is. The most powerful systems in history did not rely on constant force. They relied on quiet certainty. Certainty that someone somewhere was always aware. This is how habits change. How thoughts become filtered. How behavior becomes smoother, safer, quieter. Not because anyone commanded it, but because silence trained it. The observer does not speak, as it doesn't need to. By the time you feel its presence, it has already been there long enough to shape you. And that is what makes it impossible to ignore. For most of human history, home meant separation. Inside was safety. Outside was uncertainty. You closed the door and the world stayed out. Walls were not just physical. They were psychological. At home, behavior changed. Voices softened. Bodies relaxed. Thoughts wandered freely. Privacy was not a right. It was a feeling. And that feeling shaped who people became in private. But something subtle shifted. Not suddenly. Not violently. Quietly. Homes began to listen. Not in the way people imagine. Not ears. Not microphones. Patterns. Lights that learn when you wake up. Thermostats that know when you are uncomfortable. Screens that observe what calms you and what agitates you. Rooms that adapt. First, it feels convenient. Comfortable. Helpful. But comfort has a side effect. It removes friction. And friction is where privacy used to live. When a space adapts to you, it must first study you. When it predicts you, it must remember you. The modern home does not watch actions. It watches states. Energy. Mood. Routine. How long you stay in one room. When you stop moving. When the silence stretches longer than usual. Your home knows when something is different before you say a word. This creates a strange reversal. You are no longer resting in your home. Your home is observing your rest. And the body senses this. People describe difficulty fully relaxing. A tension that never drops to zero. A background alertness. Even alone. Even safe. Because the space no longer feels neutral. It feels responsive. And responsiveness implies awareness. Once the mind registers that the old boundary disappears, there is no clear moment where you are unseen. No clear transition between public and private self. The same behavior carries through. The same restraint. The same filtering. The same quiet discipline. This is why many Americans say they feel more themselves outside than inside. Why driving alone feels freer than sitting at home. Why the bathroom becomes the last true refuge. Not because something is actively watching, but because something is always capable of knowing. The home did not become dangerous. It became transparent. And humans were never designed to live inside transparent spaces. Privacy is not just about hiding. It is about decompression. Without it, the nervous system never fully shuts down. The door still locks. The lights still turn off. But the feeling of being unobserved never fully returns. People often say this feeling has always existed. That humans have always feared being watched. But that is not true. Fear existed. Danger existed. Surveillance did not. For most of history, being observed was rare. And temporary. Someone could watch you. But only for a moment. Only from one place. Only with limited attention. Observation had limits. When the watcher left, the feeling ended. The body relaxed again. What is happening now is fundamentally different. For the first time in human history, observation became continuous. Not constant in effort. Constant in possibility. The system does not need to look at you right now. It only needs to be able to. That potential is enough to change behavior. Previous generations lived with gaps. Moments where nothing was recorded. Moments where memory faded. Moments where actions disappeared into time. Today nothing truly disappears. Search histories. Movement patterns. Sleep rhythms. Emotional cycles. Even inactivity is information. This changes how the brain perceives time. The mind no longer separates past from present. Because the past is always retrievable. And when the past is always accessible, the present feels heavier. Another reason this feeling is new is prediction. Older systems reacted. Modern systems anticipate. Anticipation creates a different kind of pressure. You are not responding to consequences anymore. You are responding to expectation. This is why the anxiety feels vague. Why it has no clear source. Why it doesn't spike and disappear. It hums. Persistent. The nervous system was never designed to live inside a world without forgetting. Privacy once meant disappearance. Now it means obscurity. And obscurity is fragile. One update. One policy change. One shift in the system. And what was invisible becomes visible again. This is why the feeling spreads so fast. Across ages. Across cities. Across lifestyles. It is not learned behavior. It is biological adaptation. The body is responding to a world where observation no longer sleeps. And when something never sleeps, the mind never fully rests. That is what makes this moment different. Not the technology itself, but the permanence. There is one detail that changes everything. No one agreed to this. There was no announcement. No clear beginning. No moment where society paused and said yes. It simply started happening. Little by little. A feature here. An update there. A convenience that felt harmless. And suddenly an entire population was inside a behavioral experiment. Not in a laboratory. In daily life. Every scroll. Every pause. Every moment of hesitation. All measured. The experiment is not about information. It is about response. What makes you stop? What makes you comply? What makes you feel tired without knowing why? You are not being tested as an individual. You are being tested as a pattern. Millions of small reactions form a map. A map of behavior. A map of influence. And the most effective experiments are the ones where participants don't know they are participating. Because awareness changes outcomes. So the system stays quiet. No alarms. No obvious control. Just gentle adjustment. What you see first. What you see last. What you never see at all. Over time, this creates normalization. People stop asking why they feel watched. They stop questioning the tension. They accept it as background noise. This is the real result of the experiment. Not obedience. Not fear. Adaptation. Humans adapting to constant observation without ever being told to. And adaptation is irreversible. Once the nervous system rewires itself to expect observation, the absence of it feels wrong. Silence feels suspicious. Privacy feels unfamiliar. Being unobserved feels unsafe. This is how control becomes internal. There is no authority to resist. No rule to break. No command to disobey. Only habits you didn't choose. Reactions you didn't design. Boundaries that dissolved quietly. The experiment does not need to end. It only needs to continue long enough. Long enough for a generation to grow up never knowing what it feels like to truly not be observed. And when that happens, the question is no longer who is watching. The question is whether anyone remembers what freedom used to feel like. This feeling did not appear to scare you. It appeared to shape you. Fully. Quietly. Not to control what you do, but to influence what you never do. The thoughts you abandon. The impulses you suppress. The moments you decide not to act. Nothing forces you. Nothing threatens you. And that is why it works. The system does not need your attention. It only needs your adaptation. When people feel watched long enough, they stop asking questions. They stop testing limits. They stop imagining alternatives. Not because they are weak, but because their nervous system learned a new normal. A normal where awareness replaces freedom. Where comfort replaces curiosity. Where silence replaces resistance. This is not the loss of privacy. It is the reshaping of the human interior. And the most unsettling part is this. The system did not take anything from you. You gave it away in pieces so small you never noticed when the feeling changed. Maybe no one is watching you right now. Maybe no system is focused on you at all. But the feeling remains. And that feeling is enough to change how a society thinks. How it behaves. How it defines freedom. The question is not who is watching. The question is who are we becoming in a world where being unseen no longer feels natural. Silence.